covers an area 3 times the size of California. It's the biggest desert in Asia and one of the harshest in the world. From a summer high of 104 degrees, the temperature in midwinter can drop to -40. Few animals can endure such extremes, save for the Gobi's hardiest survivor. The wild Bactrian camel. This area of the Gobi was a nuclear test site for almost 50 years. Not only did the camel population survive the effects of radiation, they continue to reproduce successfully. In this merciless place, fresh water is hard to come by. For much of the winter, the air is too cold and too dry to melt snow. In the warming sun, the snow simply evaporates. But that doesn't stop the Bactrian camel from staying hydrated any way it can. And here, that means filling up on snow. The strategy is to take little and often, and with good reason. Filling the stomach with snow could be fatal. Bactrian camels have also adapted to drinking saltwater slush from underwater springs at the desert's edge. Once it's replenished its fluid levels, a camel in winter can go months without another drop. Winter is the time for breeding, so the young will be born in spring, 13 months from now. A male advertising for a mate splashes urine on his tail and spreads it onto his back, sending pheromones wafting into the chilly wind. And hopefully, a receptive female will heed the call. With only 1,000 or so Bactrian camels left in the wild, successful reproduction is critical to this species' survival. Across the dunes, a few hundred miles to the southwest, the massive Tibetan Plateau looms 4 times the size of Texas. Because it is so high, nearly 15,000 feet on average, it mirrors the harsh conditions at the polar caps. Even now, in midsummer. Tibetan yaks eke out a living on sparse grasses and lichens. Extremist by choice, they opt to graze up here, though their meals are covered in ice. And the air perilously thin. Known as the roof of the world, Tibet's high desert is so cold and dry, it's reminiscent of another frozen desert, Antarctica. The coming 24-hour darkness and bone-cracking cold force the emperor penguin colony into a strange dance of survival. The males shuffle into groups, their eggs still tucked above their feet. To survive and ensure a future for their offspring, they must conserve their body heat. Huddling allows them to stay warm, while lowering their energy consumption by 38%. This strategy is so efficient, penguins in the middle sometimes get too hot and must lift their heads for a breath of cool air. Up to 10 penguins cram into a single square yard. A huddle of hundreds has become one. But even as temperatures continue to plummet, these emperors face a far greater challenge than the cold. Winter in Antarctica, and temperatures plummet to 60 below zero. With their precious offspring tucked beneath their bellies, they're buffeted by 100-mile-an-hour winds. These fathers haven't eaten in months, and still, they have weeks to go. But there's no way out. They must endure or die. Meanwhile, spring is underway in the northern hemisphere. As snow cover melts in an English forest, this lush habitat puts on a spectacular display. With no leaves to block their way, the sun's rays strike the forest floor directly, and their warmth rouses plants like the aptly named snowdrop from their winter sleep. Ferns have existed on this planet for 400 million years, and still, they rush to uncoil. Soon, the trees will come into leaf and steal their light. The pushy, lesser celandine can form extensive carpets over a forest floor, elbowing less aggressive species out of the way. Red campion advertise their pollen to newly emerging butterflies and bees. A show like none other on planet Earth. In weeks, only a few shafts of light dance through the woodland. The broad leaves spread wide to glean energy from the sun, making the most of the springtime bounty. All across America, an amazing migration is underway. Lesser snow geese. Armies of them embark on a 3,000-mile journey. While many animal species are in decline, the lesser snow geese population has flourished, and numbers around 5 million strong. They winter in wetlands throughout the southern United States and Mexico. Then, in spring, fly back across North America to the Arctic tundra. A one-way trip takes up to 3 months, and they time their arrival perfectly. As spring sweeps northward, winter releases its grip on the Arctic. Ground temperatures rise, and grasses that lay frozen all winter come back to life. A vast Arctic prairie emerges from beneath the receding ice. Flying in on empty, the geese touch down inside the Arctic Circle. This will be their summer home and their breeding ground. Snow geese made for life. As soon as couples arrive, they must stake claim to a nesting patch. The competition for prime real estate can be fierce. With the snow goose population swelling, the battles only intensify year to year. They last until every pair finds a few square yards on which to settle. The tundra is ideal terrain for a grazer. Grass grows fast during the intense summer and 24 hours of daylight. And there are fewer predators than farther south. The tundra's abundant resources make it possible for snow geese to rear an average of 4 nestlings per couple. The female will incubate her eggs for 3 weeks, if they make it that long. There's a crafty predator on the horizon, and the geese are on the defensive. The Arctic fox has waited the entire winter for her favorite meal.